Welcome to I Love You So Much. My name is Reed Fish. I'm here with my good friend Tyler Labine.
Hi, everybody.
And we're two divorced dads getting better. Tyler, you're a great guy, but I know you have a little deviant heart. Is there anything you want to confess from this last week?
Thanks for that totally backhanded compliment. A deviant with a heart of gold.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Do I have a confessional this week? Yeah, I've been thinking about it. You know, it's funny. We were just talking about like your mind starts racing. Like, oh my God, what did I do this week?
Yeah, I know.
So I have a thing. I don't know. I think it's more of a topic that we can discuss. But
okay.
I was at a little grocery store in Ojai the other day, and I'm like, I've been getting over this
Rainbow
fucking
Bridge?
sign. No, but you know the one. Yeah, no, Little Westridge on the east side of town.
got it.
Yeah. Shout outs to Westridge. So I went into the Little Westridge, and I'm on antibiotics. I've got this like sinus infection, and I just wanted to get in and get out, just get some like cold beverages. And I just went in. There's like a woman and a man, and she's sort of standing in the middle of the aisle, and I just sort of like squeezed past, like turned my body sideways and squeezed past to get to the thing, and she goes, "Excuse you, asshole."
Whoa.
And I go, I'm sorry, what? And she's like, "You could have said, 'Excuse me, asshole.'" And I was like, "Are you talking to me?"
She's like, you with asshole twice in a minute?
Yeah. I was like, "Are you talking to me right now?" Like, incredulous. Wow. I'm like, "What is happening?" She's like, "Didn't you see I had to move my cart over?" And I was like, "I literally didn't see you do that."
But also, if your cart's blocking the aisle, move your fucking cart.
Exactly. And also, I squeezed by you without touching. Like, I moved my body physically to like shimmy around you. I don't have to say excuse me. If I wanted to stand there and be like,
you could.
Anyway, okay. Oh, see, it's happening already.
Yeah.
This is what's happening.
Oh man.
So I'm standing there.
My blood pressure is up.
So
right
this
now.
is what I want to talk about. This is what I'm talking
you.
about. I started like, I'm doing it right now. I started getting like shaky and a little like breathless.
I'm there. I'm there.
And I'm trying to not say something horrible to her. But she's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what she's like. She said the thing and I went, "Hey, thank you for picking a fight with me today. You know, I really needed that." And she was like, "I'm not picking a fight. I'm just trying to teach you some manners."
Whoa.
And I went, and I just grabbed my drinks and I walked by and I said, "Excuse me." And she's like, "See, isn't that better? That's nice. I appreciate that."
No, you're clearly being antagonistic in that moment. Not better. Not better. This is not how we create like a loving society.
It was like it was the high road of antagonism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it could have been, but I went for a little bit of like a highbrow antagonistic approach. And then I get to the counter and I'm paying and I'm like, wait, is she gonna come up behind me in the line? Like I'm shaking. I'm just buying my Red Bulls.
Which is there any part of you too? Because this is where my mind goes. Is she now judging me for buying Red Bulls also? You know what I mean?
But she was
especially in that store. Which it's not quite Rainbow Bridge, but it's healthy-ish.
It is. It's like Rainbow Bridge adjacent. But
it's not Vaughn's.
Yeah, no. Vaughn's. It smells like cat shit. Okay, so I buy my drinks and I'm seething. I'm shaking and I'm physically noticing the effect of what's happening to my body. And it's intense. And I get in my car and I'm thinking about like, do I want to go in there? Like, do I want to go back in there and be like, let me tell you something? But I'm like, no, just drive. And I'm like holding it. I'm like biting my tongue in my own car. And then I'm driving home, which is a very short drive. And I just decided out loud, let her rip. And I just told her in my car all the shit I wanted to say, which was like fucking intense. It was like, it was a full rant. And I didn't know low punches, but like, it's like you're making this fucking point, but angrily. And then I felt better. And I got to my house and I like went in and I was like, hey, that was kind of cool that I didn't unleash it on her. But like, still, what is that reactivity? That like, I mean, you said your blood pressure got up, like that intense, seething, red hot anger because someone said something to me that I didn't like. And I would love to be able to just like blow past it and be like, whatever, man, you're angry at something else, which is what she is, obviously, looking for a fight.
Right, it had nothing to do with you.
But I had to like go in my car and like fucking scream at this imaginary person.
Yeah.
But I would say, too, that's progress for you because like you didn't scream at that person, and not that necessarily you would have at a different time, but I mean that's I absolutely would. That's being mature, and that's having learned, and that's regulating your emotions. Even just because you have an outburst, right? That's part of your regulation process.
I agree with you, but I think what I'm trying to do in my life is go always a little bit more reflective, one step further. Like I could easily see that person is probably struggling with something. Like she was there buying mix for drinks at like 7:30 in the morning. You know what I mean? Like it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but I'm an alcoholic, right? So I get it. I'm like, you're probably going through some shit and you're just like, she just has this stuff she doesn't know where to put. So I would love to be zen, get to the point where I'm like, even if it does anger me, I can move past it and not have it like physically present in my body as like shaking, seething anger.
Yeah.
You know, like that hurt me.
15 minutes later, after she gets the mix in her system, she's probably lovely.
She would have been like, hi, excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
Wondering if you could just give me one line of what you said to her in your car.
Oh, you want to hear like an example of what I said? Oh God, let's see. I think I was like really base shit where it was like, who the fuck do you think I am? You get to fucking talk to me like that? You're a piece of shit. Like, get the fuck out of here. You don't talk to fucking other human beings. You don't know shit about me. You don't know what my day's been like. I'm fucking sick. Fuck you. That kind of shit. You know?
Yeah, it
was very self-righteous. Like, you talking to me? You don't fucking talk to me. I talk to you. You know, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But it felt good. Like, it felt like biting into a fucking cold apple. You know what I mean? I was like, you know, like, fuck you. I know.
All right, yeah. Since mine's not so.
Reed, the other day we were talking about my anger issues. Reed was like, I don't think you're an angry guy. He's looking at me a little differently now. Yeah.
Okay, mine's a little more mild-mannered. So I feel like we're a few episodes in on this show now. I'm feeling really good about stuff. But I already feel myself, I'm going a little Hollywood. Oh, yeah. So, and I want to check that. I don't want my whole personality to be this show. And I feel like, do I have to bring it up in every conversation?
Okay. Your daughter has definitely told me it's too much.
Yeah. I am a white middle-aged man with a podcast. So, that's pretty much.
Fairly unexceptional.
Yeah, exactly. I'm under the guise of like, well, I'm just trying to promote the show. We want more listeners. And I'm like, well, my 30 people I know, like, that's not going to really make a difference. I find myself like weaving it in and I'm kind of thinking to myself, why am I doing that? Is it actually to promote the show? Is it actually to kind of show off a little bit?
Yeah. Have you been name dropping the people we have on the show?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah. We've had some awesome guests, including
absolutely. You. So that's one way I feel like that's manifested. And the other way is I'm like Googling like jowl reduction surgery. Because, now all of a sudden I have, for an hour and a half every week, I have 2 cameras in 4K pointed right at me under these bright lights. And so you're like, oh yeah, there's a little bit, when are we getting a makeup person, Stella?
Oh boy. No, we did a photo shoot at my house yesterday and you were like, I'll liquefy my jowls in Photoshop, and Martha and I were like, dude, you're such a handsome guy.
Well, I know, I appreciate that, but like we all have those. We're all our harshest critics, right?
I totally hear you.
And I don't want people to you keep having these conversations, and then people roll their eyes when I walk away.
Right. Kind of well, and I am getting a lot of Oak Grove parents being like, "Hey, the podcast. Reed was talking about the podcast the other day. I heard you had so and so on," and kids are like, "Hey, you're doing a podcast with Reed, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like 11-year-olds are like, "I'm going to tune in." I'm like, "No, you're not.
Not for you."
No, but my daughter's like, Dad, are you talking about your podcast again?
Yeah. She's definitely taking that tone with me now too. It's like it's trickling over. But the fact that you're already reflective about it is indicative that you're probably not going to lose yourself to this thing.
Hopefully.
I'll pray for you.
All right, thank you.
Hollywood is a big giant Sarlacc pit.
So Ethan Suplee, do you have a confession for us?
It's maybe 2 weeks old, but it's the one that came to mind, so I'm going to share it.
Fresh enough. Perfect.
So the radical director that did Triangle of Sadness.
Ruben Osterlund.
Yes. Yeah. I couldn't, that's a mouthful. Mm-hmm. It doesn't roll off the tongue like Reed Fish. Which I really do think is an incredible name. He did one earlier about an avalanche. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah.
So force majeure. It doesn't blow the whole thing to give away what happens in the first 5 minutes, which is an avalanche comes and a family is sitting at a table outside and the dad runs away.
Yeah.
And then
instead of saving
Will
his family.
Ferrell, right? Isn't it?
No, that was the remake.
Oh, that's the remake.
But the movie is basically about you ran away. Like, I can't trust you. So I am very much with my wife and children, like interested in safety. We have in our home fire blankets and first aid kits everywhere. My children went to school in Los Angeles and they may have had bulletproof panels in their backpacks.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I'm sitting in my dining room, writing at the dining room table, and I have a clear view into the kitchen. This is 2 weeks ago. And my daughter, Grace, who just graduated high school, she's 18, she's cooking. She's in a big terry cloth robe, probably was just doing something with perfume or hairspray. And she reaches over the stove and I see her terry cloth robe catch fire. And I go, Grace, you're on fire. And she kind of doesn't notice it. And I say, Grace, you're on fire. And she swats her arm. Dad. Yeah, she swats her arm and the fire is out. It was like, there is not a mark on her. There's no damage to the robe. But there was a poof of flame and me going like, you might want to deal with that.
Yeah.
And she deals with that. I have been treated like the dad that ran away from the Avalanche since that moment.
Because you just casually said
because I was just like, hey, what are you doing? Handle this situation. You're on fire. You should know what to do. If it gets bad, stop, drop, and roll. Like we've gone over this. But I didn't run up and put it out. Because here's how I rationalize it. And again, I recognize that I am rationalizing it. By the time I get over there, maybe she gets burned in that amount of time.
Yeah. Right.
Whereas I see that, it's not like her hair is on fire. Yeah. It's not her whole back. She can clearly get to it.
Douse it with one pat.
But I do take her point of view that I am the dad who ran away from the Avalanche.
I think your calmness in that situation can only come from a very prepared person. Okay, what you just said, the time to get there, or me just saying to you and staying calm about it, so you don't panic.
Right? Do I freak out and throw her to the ground and wrap a blanket over her, or do I just try solution number one, pat that thing out?
Well, probably the optimal would have been to say something. And then also
get up and move
over there. Right?
Yeah.
I didn't think of that option.
Yeah. Right. No, I did not move.
Reed makes a good point.
I did not move. And then once the fire was out, I kind of yelled at her about poor behavior in the kitchen.
Right. Watch your sleeves.
Be more careful.
Yeah. And maybe dousing her body in incendiaries before cooking eggs or whatever the hell she was cooking. So yeah, that's my confession. I am the dad who ran away from the Avalanche.
Wow.
So rationalizing it, as I'm sure you have, and you just said, you've surely exonerated yourself. You're not, that can't be put on the same level.
No, it's certainly not on the same level. I do wish I'd gotten up and my first thing would have been like, are you okay?
Yeah.
I knew she was okay.
Yeah.
But I wish that had been prior to like, what are you doing catching yourself on fire?
Right.
Why are you reaching over the stove in a large terry cloth robe that's doused in hairspray or perfume? Like these are no-nos we've talked about,
I feel like these are the things as a parent. Reed doesn't have, you have one kid, I'm sorry. Reed doesn't have kids. We have multiple, I'm sorry. You never know what's going to stick with your kid. Like this weird sort of like you had an experience of that. Like, hey, I was the dad who ran away that one day. That might be like a character shaping moment for her.
I know.
My dad didn't run to my aid that one time when I was on fire.
Me from the fire.
Now I don't believe that men are ever going to come to my aid. It could it's
bad.
cascade.
Yeah, no, I wish I had behaved differently. Well, I really do.
I think we've probably maybe all had those moments in a, I don't necessarily with a kid, but just in a relationship where
you have a kid,
you fail, you fail at something where like you don't come to the rescue or you don't do it, but then there's 100 other times when you do, but then that one time is always remembered.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like someone who is not responsible, or that you're like, well, I just can't trust that you'll be there.
Yeah.
You weren't there for me that one time when I needed you. And I was like, well, my car broke down.
Right.
Or, whatever it is. And it's just like, I have felt that, like that stigma of getting defined by, my one mess up rather than my 100,
successes.
Times that was awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And it works only in one direction, because as a parent, I'm sure you used to like saying no 3,000 times and then one even hint at yes, and that is like etched in stone. You promised. It becomes like you swore a blood oath that you would get me this thing at Disneyland and you didn't. And I'm like, well, the 3,000 no's, shouldn't they be more solid and more rooted in reality and foundational than the one? Like, even you saw me wavering, and that's what you took as a yes,
They go for blood, man.
Yeah.
Around video games with my 8-year-old right now, it's like, if I even hint, like a whisper of like, I don't know. Maybe
I
Friday.
don't know is yes,
I
dude.
think it could be Monday. Until Friday, every time we talk, he's like, maybe one time we can play some video games. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What? And like, you just can't let it go. It's this like constant loop in his head. And it was because I hinted at a possibility.
Yeah. You give them hope.
So like the thing we're talking about, like a thing that will be a character defining moment for you, but as a parent, they're just like, I don't remember what the fuck you're talking about. My dad, when I was like 9, saw me, and I've talked about this a lot. It's all good. I had my shirt off and I was like in his like closet trying to like say good morning to him. And he was like, oh my God, look at that belly, you know, slapped it and was like, we got to put you on a crash diet right away. You know, and that like shaped everything for me. Yeah. Like that moment, my whole thing came crashing down. I was like, my dad thinks I'm not good enough. My dad thinks I'm fat. But my dad struggled with his weight too. And like for him, he was just probably like, oh, I'm going to help you out with that thing.
Right.
But for me, it was like this demon. Like, you're fat, you're a failure.
It didn't exist for you before that moment.
No, that was like maybe some friends. Like, I got chubby around 9, and my dad clearly had like an issue with it. Man, that moment, like I call it a screaming memory in therapy. Yeah. It's this one like huge burst of like, I decided at that moment that this was a problem for me for the rest of my life. Yeah. And I was thinking about your journey with your weight and how you've been so public and so supportive and influential about that. Like, do you have a moment where you realized, like, when you were a kid, where you're like, holy shit, I'm bad. This is not good.
Absolutely. My earliest memory is being on the beach, and every bit of my attention is exterior to me. Mm-hmm. And like the waves, and I remember thinking about them, and there's like fear, and this like water is amazing because I can stand in the shallow part and feel the water pulling me, but it's not dangerous. But if I go like on my dad's back and we have to dive under a wave, it's this terrifying like force. And I have my shirt off. I'm probably 4 years old, and it's the first memory I have. And really soon after that, I go to visit my grandparents, and in Vermont, it was a big flight, which was also terrifying. So the trip started out with fear. I think it was a little delayed. I'm suddenly going like, there's not going to be somebody there to get me because they won't know because the plane is late. And I arrive, and my grandfather makes my favorite meal, which is lasagna, and they serve me a very small portion, which I'm not thinking about. But then when I reach for another portion, my hand's kind of swatted, and they're like, your parents have let you go. You're fat, and we're going to do something about this on this trip.
Yeah. How is at 4?
5.
And you traveled solo at 5?
I traveled solo.
You used to be able to do that.
Well,
yeah. I got a pair of wings. I don't know if that's still a thing.
Yeah. You get assigned to a flight attendant. They're like,
they walk you on. Yeah. From that moment on, my attention is on myself. Yeah. It's all
the exterior goes
directed inward. Yeah. How do I relate to society? How do they perceive me? I am shameful. I am bad. And it's really the first time there was any kind of idea about my body. Like my body, I never thought about it as a thing. So the first like kind of self-reflection was, this thing is bad. Like I have this thing and it's bad. And it was horrible and truly shaped my life.
Yeah. It's such I want to talk to you about your experience too, Reed, but that the loss of the exterior appreciation and everything going interior and self-consciousness, it is like brutal. It just changed. Like you stop enjoying everything. Yeah. And everything in a really sad way becomes about you. Yeah. How am I affecting you? Are you watching the way I'm eating? Is it gross the way I'm eating? There's so many things that were lost in that moment, right?
My very next memory of being on a beach, I've got a shirt on, I'm sitting, I am glued to my towel, and my friends are playing, and I want so desperately to play with them. But literally the idea of walking across the beach and having people see me is so much that I can't leave this spot because I'm like safe and kind of unassuming here and can make myself small. Yeah. But like, I think of the beach as almost like a weird stage. You know what I mean? Like when you're in the water, everybody's looking that way, and I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I remember you put a post up a while ago about like your shirt around the water. Yeah. Same. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't pay me to go anywhere near water with a shirt on. Yeah. Even though looking back, it's like, that's not a good look, bro.
Dude, it exaggerates it. It's insane. Yeah.
But it felt like a safety blanket, right? Like it's not my skin. It's not, you're not seeing my belly. But man, that was like, I didn't lose that fully probably still haven't, until I was in my 30s. Like the idea of like not wearing a shirt or a rash guard. Yeah, man. Yeah. All right, Reed.
Well, yeah,
I know you've had a journey with.
Yeah, I mean, I've like you guys have been very public, and well, I'm just not a public. Well, as a public of a person.
Hey, Hollywood, lean in. All right.
It's certainly I struggled with my weight from the time I was, whatever, 5. I'm sure.
Do you have like a screaming memory like we were talking about?
I was just thinking. No, well, I had to think about it, so apparently not.
Okay.
So I mean, I just do remember being monitored on what I ate, and I had to, I would go over to my grandparents a lot. We lived in the same small town, and like it was just like whatever. They would always have ice cream and unlimited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I was always like, Reed, what did you eat when you were at your grandparents today?
Yeah.
And I think I remember sensing a lot of frustration, I think, from my parents towards them of like, hey, we want to help him not be overweight, and you guys are just ruining it. And I remember my dad throwing some stray comments my ways, get your fat ass off the couch, kind of thing. And it wasn't like constant, but I think in those moments where my dad back in those days, had a little bit of a temper. I guess he still does, but never got physical or anything like that. Of course, I know deep down he's trying to help, but it didn't feel that way in the time. And then of course, I was always self-conscious about it. I'm sure you guys did it too. Had to go to the Husky section.
Oh my God, 6X, 6X. I remember that was like Tyler has to go by in the 6X section, 6 extra large, 6-year-old.
Yeah, and I just remember, always not being comfortable with my weight, and and it's lifelong. I've never been at my ideal weight, or quote unquote ideal weight, right? Whatever that means.
Reed, ideal weight is it's just that ideal weight I think is total bullshit.
Yeah.
I was doing approximately 8 hours of cardio a day and starving myself in around 2011, 12. And I got down to 240. And I went to see a doctor because like half of my weight journey was, when does the enlightenment happen?
Right,
when do I feel normal? When do I feel better about myself? I need to hit some number that unlocks that magical key. So I go to a guy named Dr. Huizenga, big sports medicine doctor. He was the doctor on The Biggest Loser, because I'm he'll tell me what the number is. And I go in thinking, I bet it's 20 pounds. I was 240 at the time. I bet I need to be 220.
Sounds great.
Yeah. I go in, he takes one look at me and he's like, no, you need to be 185.
Oh.
And I'm like,
oh, dude.
I'm like, oh my God. I've lost 330 pounds.
Another mountain in front of you, right?
And that 55, and every pound at this point is like clawing tooth
Hours
and nail
to
get. Yeah. I'm devastated. And he goes, well, we'll put you in a DEXA scan and we'll get an exact number, but it's around 185. I go and do the DEXA scan. He comes back, looks it over. He's like, this is wrong. You got to do it again. Something messed up. And I know what a DEXA scan is at that point. It's a heavy dose of radiation. You're supposed to get like 3 a year max.
Right.
And I'm like, oh,
He's like,
wow.
2 in a row. Go.
It must have been bad. Go and do it again.
And what can you tell me what a DEXA scan is, actually what it shows?
I can't tell you exactly what the words stand for, but it separates fat, lean tissue, and bones.
Okay.
And bones, like, you can weigh on various levels, but this is bone without any of the marrow. That's considered lean tissue. It's just like basically the calcium of your bones. So you get these 3 figures, and it can tell you very precisely. It's the most accurate on what your body fat percentage is.
Okay, got it.
I go through it again, come back, and he goes, I was wrong. You're 14% body fat right now. You don't need to lose any weight at all.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah.
You are good.
What a weird thing to hear, right? You're done.
I leave going, what the fuck does he know? I need to lose 20 pounds because I don't feel normal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I need to lose weight to the point where I feel better about myself. And that
did you know
there.
what was normal supposed to feel like for you?
Fuck if I know. I've never felt normal. I just want to feel like I fit in, like I'm not, like I don't look in the mirror and hate myself.
Here's an example happening right now. Like I have disordered eating disorders up the wazoo. I had set a weight goal for myself like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Of 205. My doctor was like, yeah, that'd be great for you because you're a big guy and like I'm very strong and 6 feet tall.
Very strong.
Heavy bones.
Yeah.
I did a DEXA scan as well and we were like 205 is great. I'm at 204 right now. Some days 203 and I'm still like,
it's not it.
But what it is like it's this dysmorphia, but it's also, I don't know how to shake my lifelong ambition of hitting a number.
You will not shake it.
An ambition weight. Of like, I'm like, but I'm done. Like I go to the gym now and I'm like, I don't need to do
I'm
an
done
hour
is
and a half
tricky.
Of cardio.
I'm done is tricky because I'm done for me means I start gaining weight again.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it means like I gave up or because I
crossed the finish line and then like life goes back to what it was before you were on the race.
I'm great at being in a deficit. I'm great at being at the base of the mountain, being like, I got to climb this thing. I love it. I love a call to arms, call to action. And then I realized lately, like I go to the gym and I'm just building muscle. I'm just doing strength training now.
Yeah.
I still do cardio because I want my heart to be in good shape, but like I'm not like, I was a slave to the same thing, like running,
it's a fucking
sprinting
nightmare.
For 10 minutes, like crazy stuff. And it's weird. It's just, it's all part of that disordered thinking of like, I have to have a number to hit.
But do you think you can transition into like a management kind of?
I will say maintenance for me has been the hardest, because for my entire life, I'm working to see a reduction on the scale. Right. That's the prize.
That's what I'm saying. I can't shake that.
And when you're working and putting as much effort in to see the scale stay the same, there's no like prize. You get on and you're like disappointed with any figure. And you're like, wait, my entire day, my entire week, my entire month, my entire year has been intentionally eating and exercising for the scale to stay the same, and I'm disappointed every single time.
Yeah.
But this is a conversation that I have to have with myself and insert a little rational and logic and go like, no, you're gonna feel this disappointment. That's okay. Then you're gonna remind yourself that this is what you're working towards, and and you're gonna be okay with that too.
Yeah, it is an acceptance. Like, and I weigh myself all the time, which is such a bad habit.
So do I.
Yeah, I'm just every day, really. I'm just like, 0.6 pounds heavier today. Oh, fuck. But for me, at least it's moved past like I don't starve myself. I don't I eat food. I eat protein. I try to hit protein goals. But I'm like a slave to the scale, man. And without that number now, I feel a little bit aimless. I'm like,
what are we doing?
Should I go try to hit a higher number now? Should I gain weight and then lose it again? Like
I have a buddy, and I've tried to have this conversation with him a number of times, who got the bariatric surgery, and he lost 200 pounds, and he has talked to me a number of times about wanting to start resistance training and doing some weight training. And every time we talk, he's like, I just got to get down to 205.
Before
and then
I'll
start.
The thing. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what are you at? 208.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is meaningless. Cord, This is completely meaningless.
Well, it's a barrier that he's put up in his mind. Right? We all grew up around the same era, I think. We're all around the same age. All of this, your journey has been fascinating to me, and it inspires millions of people, probably, I would imagine at this point. But I also wonder, like, and same with me, I've been trying to get out there influencing, fitness. I'm like, is this unhealthy? Is my thing that I'm doing as a potential influencer, you as an influencer, like the things we were modeled as like what a man looks like in the 80s was like Schwarzenegger and Stallone. Now we have like Statham and like whoever. These dudes were just like built like I'll never be built that way. You know what I mean? But I'm trying.
Well, you're pretty ripped.
Well, yeah, and so is Ethan, but we both are still like trying to do a thing. So I wonder sometimes, I definitely preach like I'm doing this in a healthy way and I'm trying to like have a good healthy outlook on myself, but I'm also like, but what am I really doing? Like what am I trying to say about bodies? What am I trying to say about my own, about yours, about your level of satisfaction with yours? I wonder if you ever think about that as an influencer, like a pretty heavy influencer now. Not your body.
Yeah.
But like, do you ever wonder if that's a holdover from this like toxic imagery we were fed?
I think the message I'm trying to get across more than anything is that like I didn't get anywhere until I started cutting myself some slack and going like, there's stuff about me that I cannot change and that I'm just going to accept.
Yeah.
And that's really tough. And then there's stuff I can change and I can be more responsible about, and I'm going to work hard to do that too. But like, for so long, I just didn't like myself.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like it was unhealthy for me. And so that more than anything is what I'm trying to say to people.
Yeah.
I find like, because Instagram is that's like my biggest platform.
Yeah.
Is so image heavy that like sometimes you just look at the picture and don't read the caption.
Not me. I always read you. I love what you say.
And I've been doing Substack now where I can spend 2,000 words trying to get into the weeds about like, I'm struggling with this every day, and it gets easier. It doesn't get easy. It's still this is a lifelong thing, and everything I'm talking about is truly unique to me. I do not affix this necessity to anybody else, but I know a lot of people want to change their bodies, and like, yes, it's possible to do, but like, it sucks when you are expecting the mental to come along with the physical, and it just doesn't happen.
Well, and I think with the image-based stuff, and I don't think I've been following you, Ethan, on Instagram, but I know, but I have seen. I know it's going to rectify this.
Shame.
I'm going to rectify it, and I know even Tyler, your content, it's a lot of like gym content, right? And it's a lot of like muscles, and
it's taking a page out of this guy's
well,
book.
I mean, talk about guns.
No,
and I'm like literally, I'm serious.
Yeah.
I'm on a weight loss journey right now, and like, but I have like working out and like lifting weights holds almost no appeal to me. Like, I don't mind being physically active, I'll go on a hike or swim or, whatever. And maybe it's a holdover from like, I think of it as like toxic bro stuff, and not that, being physically fit is inherently toxic, but I've never felt comfortable in the gym. And so then when I see kind of you guys as fitness or weight loss, kind of influencers, gurus, I get, it's like, it's intimidating. I'm like, God, I don't think that's my path. And like, but do I have to? And I was just listening to one of your episodes today, Ethan, on your American Glutton podcast. And they were talking about the GLP-1 stuff. And I'm on a GLP-1 right now.
I am too, but it's a different,
And you guys were talking, you and the doctor were talking about resistance training, of how crucial that is. And in fact, if you're on any weight loss journey, right, that there's no diet that's not going to lose you lean muscle tissue. And I'm like, shit, I don't want to do that.
Well, listen, dude, I utterly understand where you're coming from. I lost 200 pounds and still didn't feel comfortable going to the gym. And the only reason I started going, this was in 2004, the only reason I started going to the gym was my wife bought me a package with a trainer without telling me, and then presented it to me like, I spent $2,000. You have to go.
Accountability.
You have to go use it. And I was like, I was horrified. Like, I did not belong in the gym at all. But I didn't want to set fire to that money. There was no getting the money back. And so I went to the gym, and I found that the gym is the most accepting place. There are for sure gyms where there are assholes, but there are assholes everywhere. You go to the DMV, there's going to be assholes.
You go to
Westridge, Blue Bottle Coffee, there are going to be assholes. Assholes are everywhere. But everybody in the gym is doing the same thing that you're going to the gym for. They're trying to enhance their life through exercise and movement.
Yeah, but I guess I feel judged because I'm at a certain part of the journey. And so many of the people there, and I don't know their stories, it's like, oh, they've always been physically fit. They've had this as a lifelong thing, and they're going to look, I just, and I don't think they look down on you, but, like, I just feel uncomfortable. It just, I feel vulnerable.
Two things I want to point out.
Yeah, that's fair.
Is that as two gentlemen who have started in a place, feeling that judgment at the gym, and then being on the other end of it now, going to the gym and seeing other people looking at us and being like, I mean, especially you, but like, fit.
Yeah.
I know that I'm not judging those people at all. I'm like, fucking hey, man, good for you. So I've been able to retroactively look back at my journey beginning of the gym and be like, I don't think anybody was even paying attention to me, or if they were, they're like, right on, dude, you got to start somewhere,
You tell me you don't go to the gym, I look at you, I am utterly envious of what you could accomplish in the gym.
Right.
Because you are going to have such an easier time building muscle and losing fat at the same time. If you haven't been doing it, if you haven't done it, there's like a magical window where you could have both happen simultaneously.
Oh my God, it's the
For
pink
me
cloud,
today,
man.
if I want to lose weight, there's no way I'm building muscle. I also don't feel, I don't want to build muscle. I just want to maintain muscle mass. But like, you could probably have this shift where you we're gaining muscle and losing weight at the same time, which is basically impossible if you've been going to the gym for any amount of time.
Right.
So like,
it's one or the other, you know?
You come into the gym and I'm just like, dude, that guy could fucking smash it right now. And I feel a little bit of envy, truly.
Well, and talk about that mountain place in front of us, right? The place where I'm like, oh my God, that's my call to action. That's my thing. Like, I love having a boulder to push up a hill, you know what I mean? So I look at people starting the gym, I'm like, dude, that's rad. You're gonna and you see results and you start like all the exciting things. But the other thing I wanted to ask you about, both of you guys, and this is what I was kind of trying to get at, is like, is the core of what we're doing toxic? Where did this imagery and where did the initial dislike, other than being told by my grandparents or my parents that I was unacceptable, after that, there is this image in my head of like what I think I want to look like. I don't know where that comes from. It's not like I inherently wake up and I go, I want to be like jacked. I have this nagging thing that's always there. I'm like, you got to get more jacked. I want to get bigger. I want to get bigger. Maybe that's not your experience, but I feel that for me is a little bit toxic. I'm like, but why can't I just be like, this is great. I love me. I tell my kids, like, because they're starting to make comments like, Daddy, you're like Giga Chat, or whatever they call it, Giga Chad. It's like this brain rot term for like Giga Chat. And I'm like, what? So like the kids are saying, and I'm like, that's not exactly the message I want to put out there. Like, I did this for me. And I just wonder, like, is it inherently this whole journey, this whole chase, other than trying to get healthy and feeling like I want to like myself, which I can do in a multitude of ways, there's still this nagging physical end of it where I'm like, I feel like I'm supposed to look a certain way to be like a man or a desirable man, you know?
I hear you. I have just come to the realization that which I've certainly had doesn't actually exist for me. There is no unlocking some mysterious physical look and weight and, you know,
Brad Pitt and Fight Club,
striated, separated muscle separation in my quads. It does nothing. Like I feel good for 5 minutes. I look at it, I go like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And then it's gone. Yeah. It is that utterly ethereal, gone, dissipates like that. And I'm back to like, God, I have a lot of loose skin. You know what I mean?
So there's another thing to like pick at.
Yeah. So toxic, I think if you were on there going like, fucking look at me, I look so ripped and jacked and this is what it's all about. Maybe, but I think like, I feel better when I exercise.
Oh man, it's my antidepressant for sure.
Yeah.
Although I'm on antidepressants as well, but I need them both.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of almost think that anything in the sphere of influencer is a little bit toxic, because what you're actually kind of doing is you're putting out what you're doing, or, oh, this is the best, this is the thing. And then when I look at that, I'm like, well, I'm not doing that.
Right.
And,
I'm not
and
the
then,
best.
and so you're trying to influence me to do it. Right. And so that inherently what I'm doing is better than what you're doing. And so you got to follow along with me. Right. Yeah. And so, and I do think when I see some of that gym content, it actually makes me feel bad about myself because I'm not doing that. Right. And that is kind of toxic. And I know you're doing it from a really positive place, and I don't have a problem with it, but it is, I just think, you know, when you're setting an example for people, then they're going to start measuring themselves to that example, right?
It's hard to defend that at a certain point.
Well, here, I do really try to steer away from good and bad, better and worse. Like I work actively to do that. I'm a moral relativist, first of all. And second of all, everything I put out there is just what has worked for me, what has made me feel better. And people are completely, if you want to try it, fine, but I make no promises. There is no part of this where I say or suggest that my path is the path for everyone or workable for everyone. It's just, I was 550 pounds and a heroin addict. And
I forgot about the heroin.
I had to crawl my way out of that. And even when I lost weight, which I thought, even when I got sober, it turns out there's a whole bunch of other crap I had to deal with. And then I lost a ton of weight, and there's a whole bunch of other crap I have to deal with. So I'm very actively trying to say, like, if you think weight loss is going to make you feel like a better person, I don't think it will. It didn't do that for me. What I get out of the gym is literally just that the rest of that day is better for me.
Yeah. And I feel it, like it's not about a pump or like an aesthetic. It's gotten to a point where I'm like, if I can notice a very like marked difference if I don't go to the gym for a couple of days, which doesn't happen often, but when I do, I'm like, it's not like I'm like, oh, I got to go to the gym, I feel like the certain things get a hold of me again. You know, like some of my snippiness, and I get a little bit depressed. And
but do you think it is a part of your addictive stuff?
Yeah,
I mean,
it has been.
Yeah.
Well, when I was doing a massive, insane amount of cardio, I just was like trading one part of my life for another. Now it's like I exercise to the point where I have more energy and the day will be improved. And I could very easily stay in the gym for 3 hours and put myself into a hole and then have to lay down. But I don't do that anymore because that is totally what you're
breaking
talking
the addictive patterns.
There's been some informal polling taken in the podcast community. And our studio was voted the #1 best smelling studio.
Absolutely.
And I think I know why. Outside of my own natural smell, it is Night Bloom's candles. Our own signature scent. It is Santal and Yuzu. Everyone who walks in here comments how great our studio smells. You can find that candle on our merch store, ilysmpod.com. But also, I would check out Night Bloom. So we have this candle collab with Night Blooms themselves. You can go to their website, nightbloomsgoods.com, and browse all their candles. Every single candle I've ever smelled of theirs smells amazing. They look beautiful, and they look beautiful in your home as well. And if you want to order from them, and you get a gift set. You want to candles make such great gifts. You can just give the gifts.
Look at that. I'll give you that one.
Oh, thanks, Tyler. You can use the code ILYSM20 and you're going to get 20% off your first order from Night Blooms. So that's nightbloomsgoods.com. I'm serious, people. We super believe in these candles, run by great people, small business, all made by hand, non-toxic, all the stuff you want in a candle. These guys are it. You know, Tyler, I know this looks like a high-level production because it is a high-level production. But what people might not know is we are bootstrapping this thing.
Truthfully.
You know, we are, woo, baby. We're shoestring.
We are in deep.
And we're hoping that people are connecting with our content, and we are actually have a community formed on Patreon. And we are so excited about this community. People are coming together. We're going to be having really great conversations about some of the stuff that's going on in this show. We've got behind the scenes stuff. We have ad-free episodes of this show. So you won't have to hear Patreon ads in the thing if you subscribe to the Patreon. I mean, it's pretty good system.
It's pretty great. And I shot some BTS today on the way into the record. I like to film myself driving.
You do. I think
it's very safe.
I don't want you to die because of our Patreon. I'm trying to get Patreon footage. So maybe pull over.
It'd be a good clip, though.
It would be, but we get a lot of cancellations after that, though. I think, because I want it to go on after you're dead. Patreon is one of my favorite parts about doing this, is because we are able to interact with the community around the show.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're dying to. Like, I really am looking forward to getting to know the community, the ILYSM community.
And so we're doing playlists, we're doing behind the scenes footage, we're doing ad-free episodes, a lot of other stuff. We're doing all of our gratitude lists.
We're going to talk
about in the show.
The Tiny Legends gratitude list up.
Yes, absolutely. And so if you want to check it out, it's patreon.com/ILYSMpod, ILYSMpod. Check it out. We'd love to see you in there, and we appreciate your support so much.
We sure do. Your journey with, I don't want to call it dieting, but how you eat is like endlessly fascinating to me. Your knowledge about what food is and fuel and everything you put in your body. But like the beginning of, I want to go back to early childhood trauma again, because that's what we're doing here.
Wow.
So shortly after the smacking of the belly at 9 years old, my dad being like, Jesus, buddy, we got to do something, Then at 9, 10 years old, became Weight Watchers for me.
Yeah.
I was put into Weight Watchers. I was put on the Nutri-System. I was given protein, like meal replacement shakes at lunch, going to school, which kids had a lot to say about, all this stuff. Like my parents sent a note to school being like, to the teachers to read to the class that nobody was allowed to trade lunch items with me. I was not allowed to swap any Halloween candy. I wasn't allowed to have any sugar at school. So the kids all identified me as this freak, man. Yeah. This kid's a problem. And I was pretty wild. But so the Weight Watchers and the journey there at 10 to 13 to getting bigger when I was 14, 15, throughout my entire life, my whole journey with my body has been this misguided, bizarre, depraved crash dieting cycle where I'm like, I go right back to I need to be on this extreme diet. It's still very inherent in me that I'm like, oh, I just want to starve myself. That my default is to just have a protein shake in the morning and then maybe don't eat for the rest of the day, or just have a barbell, a bear bell for lunch. You know what I mean? I don't eat barbells.
Yeah.
Barbell. I eat barbells at the gym. No, barbells. So like, what was your journey with the food, the diet part of it, and how did you get to the place where you are now?
Well, starting when I was a very young kid, I was just put on a battery of diets. It was like endless diets. It was from, the cabbage soup diet to
the heart patient diet.
To the Beverly Hills diet. And I remember at like 12, I begged my mom to let me do the Vogue Diet, which was like a bottle of Chablis and 2 hard-boiled eggs a day.
Right.
I was like, well, this, I'm interested
I'm doing that right now, actually.
That
It's
seems
great.
like, at least it's fun. She said no.
Yeah.
I was raised in Los Angeles, and I went through like really bizarre diets too, where like at one point, I swear to God, I was a kid, so I might not be remembering it correctly, but this is my honest recollection. We went into, this was a home practitioner with lots of electronics in the 80s.
80s, great.
Polaroid is taken of me.
Oh, dude, Polaroids of the body. Yeah, many.
It gets way worse.
Yeah. But
then
same.
Turned over. The back is a black background. Some water is spread on it. Based on the rainbow coloring of the water, something is determined by this home practitioner. She electrocutes water, a bottle of water, and then we're told this water is now perfectly aligned to his whatever.
Because of the Polaroid results.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And he is to drink a cap of this before he eats, and it cannot touch his mouth. So you go from bottle to cap, and then he has to get it in his mouth without touching his. It's completely madness.
This is snake oil.
And
It's like,
and this will handle his weight. And I go home going like, well, if that's all I have to do, now I can eat pizza again, right? Mom? And she's like, no, you're still, we're still on the macrobiotic diet, but we're going to add this because the macrobiotic diet's not working.
Right.
The only thing that produced results was OptiFast at the time. I think it's called Slim Fast now.
Yeah.
But I did it. And I lost 10 pounds the first week, and I had some buy-in then. There was momentum.
Results,
I was like, this is working.
For that, and everyone around you is looking for those results, right? Like
one of the things the doctor told my mom was he's allowed to have as much diet soda as he wants.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, I get to have something sweet. Right. This is going to be great. And I was fucking killing it. I didn't mind that diet. My mom, because she's a health food person, was like, really anxious about me consuming diet soda. And after the first week, she was like, I just can't do this anymore. You're poisoning yourself with diet soda. And so I was taken off the diet because of diet soda.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, come on, lady. Like we would shop at Erewhon when they couldn't afford to turn on their lights, and it was like dim, and either Sikhs or cancer patients in there doing macrobiotic diets. Right. Everything was dusty. I mean, Erewhon was a dump back then in the 80s.
That kind of import around your diet is so fucked up, man.
It's awful.
Like that, the pressure on you for that, that's fucking crazy.
So 2 questions come to mind is like, how heavy were you as a kid? And then like, were you also in entertainment at that time? Were you a child actor?
Well, you started young though, didn't you? Like 15?
17.
Okay, all right. Okay.
I wasn't in entertainment then. I remember being weighed I remember the milestones. At 10, I was 200 pounds. With some relief, I maxed out. The doctor's scales used to go to 350. And when I couldn't be weighed on that, I just was 360 for many, many years. This is what I'd tell people. And then going to rehab, I had to be weighed to get into rehab. They didn't have a scale that could accommodate me, so I had to buy a freight scale and ship it to them. So I weighed in at 536 on day 1 of rehab.
Yeah. And how tall are you?
6 feet.
6 feet.
Yeah, I've actually shrunk a little bit.
It's funny. The first time I saw you in years, I was like, I remember you being
I was tall.
Giant.
Yeah, I think I lost a lot of weight in my feet. I have shrunk. I have lost an inch or two, which is crazy.
But still, you're still a tall guy. But man. And I hate even talking about that because like that's what it was. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to talk about that in some like judgy way.
Yeah.
I'm sure you felt bad. You were like you were in rehab for addiction.
I was miserable. Dude.
Yeah. So was the first thing you tackled getting off drugs? Or
yes.
Yeah.
Because I was dying. Like I had congestive heart failure.
Yeah.
That was going to kill me. That was going to kill me very quickly. And so that was the fire was okay, you got to stop doing this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like a year sober that I was like, oh, I have another thing to tackle here.
Right,
I am
right.
500 plus pounds. I should probably, look at this too. But I carried over all the stuff that was kind of done to me as a kid, all these ideas of like the moralization of food, like there are good foods and bad foods. I carried that over into dieting. So I spent 15 years dieting with this idea that like, carbohydrates are poisonous.
Right,
or
right.
Processed food is poisonous.
All the hot trends with diets.
Yeah.
And there's always something that's like, oh, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
There was the idea that I had to get healthy in order to lose weight. When really, if I lost weight, my health markers would improve.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of backwards thinking and the desperation for just tell me my thyroid is bad. Just tell me that
You want an explanation.
yeah, I'm eating
just
wrong for my blood type. Oh my God, that's it. So
Yeah.
now I'm going to eat right for my blood type, and this is going to solve nothing. I can overeat keto food. I can overeat a macrobiotic diet. This is not my problem. My problem isn't that I'm having an allergic reaction to food. It's that I'm eating too much, but like why? Way too much.
Where did that start? You know what I mean? Because I think about that too. I'm like, I have two brothers. Same genes, sort of, whatever, we're all a little bit different, but like I was the identified patient in the family, and I don't, it's the chicken or the egg.
Well,
I don't know where I became
My
the
brother
one.
never struggled with this
Yeah,
weight.
mine
And I
neither.
don't think really anyone in my family did. It was just me.
Here's the other sad thing. Like I look at pictures of myself from that trip to Vermont. I don't even see an overweight kid.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely look so much leaner than
That's what I
the
feel
average
now.
5-year-old now. And I'm like, that's the kid you guys were really worried about. What being put on diets did at that age for me was drive me into secrecy. So I would eat in secret and I would
sneak up in the middle of the
food
night
and
and, like,
binge eat and those are the habits I carried. And then when I had some autonomy and started working as an actor, I mean, I was very heavy when I started working as an actor, but when I had money in a car, and I knew where all the 24-hour fast food places were,
man.
and I would hit them every night.
Yeah, me too, man. Yeah, and sometimes drunk. Often.
Sure.
That brings me to something I want to ask both you guys about it. So I've struggled with my weight my whole life, but I'm like just a guy, right? And you guys are both certain levels of famous, and it's like, how is being a big guy in the public spotlight, and also playing roles and Ethan, I'm not as familiar with your career. I watched Earl. Were you typecast as like the fat friend who's funny or whatever? And how does that play into your psyche, and how does that play in your weight loss?
Well, I think
journey?
we both broke onto the scene as big guys.
Sure.
Right? It was sort of like that was the
100%.
niche that I was filling, and I learned very early, like, oh, that's my
That's
my
I do.
thing, man. That's
Yeah.
what people want, and leaned heavily into that. Like you started on you got your big break
Boy
was
Meets World.
and you were like a crony, right? You were like kind of a big bad guy crony, yeah.
Yeah, but
Same here.
I was a sweet bad guy.
Yeah, you were a bad guy. Well, that's the thing. We always
Heart
said
of
the bad guy
gold,
with
right?
Yeah.
it's in the eyes, right?
Yeah.
But the identifying sort of, the
was
universal truth was like, well, you're a big guy.
yeah.
And I started getting every big guy role. It started as like thugs in the beginning, I was like, oh, you're a big guy, but they see the sweetheart in there. And then it becomes the sidekick or the best friend and that was my whole career until recently, honestly, and even still a little bit. That image as well, you package that up nicely with all the childhood sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Was just like, it just cemented it for me. I was like, this is my value.
Yeah.
In a weird way, it's my torment and my value,
I found acting to be like this miraculous escape where I hate myself. I have so much self-loathing, but when I play a character who is meant to be the size that he is,
Yeah.
I'm perfect.
Yeah.
And it's this
Celebrated,
this
even.
relief of like, oh my God, right now embodying this character, there's nothing wrong with me.
That's a good way to put it.
And then there's the compounding factor that being an actor is a great distraction for who I actually am and what I actually am. When, I'm aware of people scanning a crowd and stopping on me like I'm the car wreck. Now, maybe it's because they saw me on TV, and it's not because I'm morbidly obese.
Right. It's
And
like
I can
controlling
convince
the
myself
narrative.
of that.
Yeah.
And it again provided some relief. And then there's a third thing, which is a buffer of like, I went to school with actors, and I noticed very quickly that nobody was interested so much in what is that guy interested in, or who is that guy? It was like, I know him. Mm-hmm. He's this character on TV. And so there's a separation. I can be Frankie to anyone. You're not looking at Ethan Suplee. Mm-hmm. There is no, it's this wonderful shield. It's like the t-shirt at the beach.
Absolutely. I used humor that way too. Like it was a way to control what you look at.
You're like going to look
it's a misdirection. Here. I'm going to call it out myself, or I'm going to do this or that and make you laugh, but I'm controlling it.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to laugh at me because you just decided that I'm laughable. Right. I'll make you laugh.
Did you guys have to play scenes? Because I recently rewatched Goonies, and Chunk. So honestly, I couldn't help it. He's so iconic. Funny, iconic. But my God, I just was like weeping for that guy.
Yeah. That guy went through the Hollywood ringer,
and of course,
man.
And he seems like okay now. But you're just like. And I remember always being like, oh, I'm the kind of the chunk, right? And he maybe was a little heavier than I was, but and you're just like, God, they fucking humiliate him, and every joke is like he's eating something, and he's like, and it's just like, what does that do to a guy? Did you have to? And I know that's like in like the fat guy in so many shows and movies. That's the whole joke. They're always eating something. Did you have to play that kind of role? And then how would you feel at the end of that day?
I very much tried to stay away from doing that kind of thing. I did a movie, me and Kevin Connolly and Coolio played triplets, Jerome, Sharon, and Tyrone.
Right.
And Coolio...
It's the acting pinnacle for
yes,
Coolio.
Yes. And this was like early 90s. And Coolio said to me, like on day one, like, I'm going to be doing a lot of ad-libs and talking about how fat you are. And I said, no, you're not.
Oh, yeah, good
Absolutely
for you, man.
Not. Like, I really did try to go, like, I don't want to hear the word fat. The word fat to me is like kryptonite. Like, it will fuck me up. I remember I got into one fight at school, and these kids were picking on me, not even about my weight. They were laughing about something, and then I got drawn into it, and I snapped and like jumped on this kid, and I was so much bigger than him. I was like winning this fight, and he said, "Get off me, fat ass!" And it was as though I'd gotten kicked by a mule.
He won the fight,
and I ran away crying.
Fucking words, man. Like for real, you're literally kicking his ass physically, and he beat you with a word.
He beat me with a word,
man. So I'm good for you for that. Like that came out in a very different way for me. Like I was very much so leaning into that because it was getting me all this attention.
Yeah.
And I was so starved for attention, you know what I mean? Like in a positive way, like for this to be a positive thing for me, I was like, oh my God,
let's go.
I can use this. This is a tool. I'm getting paid money. People are like, they think I'm funny, and you lose sight of being the brunt of the joke. Mm-hmm. I remember I was doing Deadbeat on Hulu, which was like the big show on Hulu. And the whole joke of that show was like, I was a stoner fat medium. And
that's fun.
I know it is funny, right? I'm a fat medium. And it was really funny, but I started to flail wildly at fat jokes. And like, I was like, this is the lowest hanging fruit. Like, you guys can do better. Like, they would write these jokes. And I was like, this is so lazy and bad. And I get really incensed. And I was like, but everyone's looking at me kind of like, what are you doing here then, man? Like, this is the thing. Right. And I turned into a problem, actually. At one point, I wanted to leave the show. I was like so angry. I wanted different writers. One of our creators was like, this is coming out of nowhere for everybody, man. Like, this, like, why now? And I didn't know. I just hit this wall with like, no, enough, man. I don't want sausage finger jokes. I don't want fucking fatso joke. Even the fat medium, which was like the joke, a fat medium. I just got so pissed off. I was like deep in my alcoholism at that point, like the deepest I'd gotten, like, you know, just drinking alone every night after work and like waking up in the morning and praying I wouldn't do it again. But I put myself there. I never put any guardrails up. I never put any boundaries up around it. So to like just all of a sudden be like, fuck everybody, you know, everyone was like, yo, dude, you want to have a job still? So it was really, and I've worked gently since then to be kind of more like, hey, can we like, or then on New Amsterdam, the show I had on NBC, they started writing in this like kind of back burner disordered eating plot line, like storyline for my character, where he'd be like walking around praising eating crudité, but then he'd be like eating gummy bears out of his drawer. And it was like this nothing sort of like character quirk. And it was really bothering me because I have a lot of disordered eating. And I went to the writers and I said, hey, if you're going to do like a disordered eating thing, I got lots of material we can work with.
Let's address it.
Do you want to talk about it and make this a thing? And they were like, oh, you want to do that? And then I wrote them like an essay on my whole journey with eating disorders and the story with my dad and the body shaming and all this stuff. Like same thing, like Polaroids with my shirt off and like weights scribbled on the back and like weight loss charts in a gym in the basement, all this stuff. I love you, Dad. We've gotten past this, but it was a fucking weird time. And I put it in the show, and I remember like Janet Montgomery, one of my co-stars, she was like, are you okay? Like I was reading it on paper for the first time, and I just like panicked.
Yeah.
I threw the script down. I like left my chair and I came back. She's like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm fucking terrified. That's me. I've never done that. I don't want to just be me on camera. And she was like, well, the reason you're terrified is because you have to do this, talk about this disordered eating thing. And so I put it on blast on national TV and then did an article in People, and my dad was like, what the fuck is happening? I didn't know you felt this way. But anyway, so it all kind of came out in this like kind of damaging way. Like I kind of threw other people under the bus. I wasn't very considerate to the people I was working with. So anyway, it was definitely an identifier, but I think the way you did it, which it was probably hard for you to like put down some boundaries like that initially. Yeah. To like say like, I'm not doing that. Would have been terrifying
acting
for me.
Was an escape. I didn't want to do this escape and have this magical force field that I was creating also be the source of shame for me.
I'm thinking about your performances and like, you have many iconic movies and performances and like, it was never a thing. It was never the thing that people talked about. Yeah. Like for your character.
I worked very hard to not have fat jokes in stuff I was doing. And it was not always easy. And Reed, I do want to go back to this because I want to acknowledge that it can feel toxic, but the first time when I got down to 217 pounds from 550, I wanted to pretend that that this was who I always was, right. And that I hadn't done anything, and I didn't talk about it, and I just gained the weight back. Right. And so a lot of what I'm posting is literally just trying to go like, here I am today. And I'm fighting to be here, and I'm very aware that nothing within me has changed, and I'm fighting to address those things because I found that if I don't talk about it, then I get really fragile.
I think that's the thread, is that like the talking about it in this regard, in like even the way we're talking about it right now, openly about not just like Men's Health Mag, even though I know you just did Men's Health Mag, the like it isn't about that for us necessarily, even though that's in there. But like the idea of talking openly, men talking about eating disorders and their journey with food, and like it is kind of a weird chasm, right? It's like a void, or has been, and it's becoming more of a thing.
Yeah, in my memory, this conversation is the first time I've really talked about it.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's weird, right? Like, why does that have to be a thing that you carry through your life? Like, yeah, he's getting upset. Yeah, no. I always want to hug him when he starts to cry. But it's like it's this weird shame that you feel like
it is a tough thing to talk about. Yeah, I didn't want to address it at all. I wanted to just be like, I made it to where I thought I wanted to be, and now let's just pretend this is me.
Yeah,
sure. And
I feel like that person's inside me. Yeah, and it's just like buried under 40 pounds of fat or something.
Right. Yeah. See, when I used to say stuff like that too, and I've noticed that like the more positive I talk about myself and all the iterations of myself, I've been able to love every me. You know what I mean? Like I see a lot of images of me.
But is it bigger. Retroactive?
Yeah, it took a long time to get there. Like I didn't love myself at the time, through substance abuse and like all the torment and punishment we put ourselves through. I used to look at photos of myself when I was bigger and fucking hate myself. Be like, I hate that kid. That kid. Like looking at a picture of yourself at 9 years old and being like, fuck you. Yeah. That's hardcore, man.
Yeah. Well, we just took photos yesterday and I'm like, oh, geez.
I know. And and so what I've started to do, and this is, again, it's like fake it till you make it kind of stuff, which is a big tenet of, any recovery program. Like, just fucking do it, man. Is like, make myself love each and every season of Tyler. You know what I mean? Like, I'll probably get bigger again one day, and I don't want to hate myself if that happens. So what I'm trying to do is be in love with me, right? Like all the shapes and sizes of me. And there's going to be many, and I'm going to be old. There's going to be other things that don't work about me when I get older, like it's not always going to be this journey. So I want to just like love all iterations of myself.
Yeah.
You know, and that's hard, but it's starting to happen. I can feel myself looking at me in like some of my more, famous roles or visible roles that people love me for. And I tried to separate myself from them so much, so long. Like, no, that was fat me, or and now I'm like kind of looking at it like, hey, right on, man. That was cool. There was this going on at that time in your life, and this happened to you. And look at how these people feel about that iteration of you. You know, it's bizarre. It's weird because it is all just you. It's not different me's. It's all Tyler, you know, even the 9-year-old Tyler, who I hugged out in the desert.
I had another question for you guys as being prominent fat guys.
Thank you.
Well, one of the things I've always felt growing up and whatever is like, I felt like it was a barrier to being attractive to women.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
And I was thinking about it because I kind of mentioned this to Tyler the other day, and he's like, come on, Reed, you got Riz, you're attracted to people. And I'm like, all right, well, thank you. But it has never felt that way, right? And then, of course, I look back. I was married for 17 years to a beautiful woman. I've had girlfriends, and like I've been able to date. And maybe it just stems from like feeling like, oh, there's this woman that I'm really interested in. She doesn't like me. Well, it must be because I'm overweight. And, and maybe there's, a few of those. And so then it gets in your psyche that, not that I'm unlovable, but it's like, oh man, I really need to lose 30 pounds. So that way, women will like me.
Yeah.
And because I guess I felt, I don't know about invisible to women, but I didn't feel like super attractive to women, right?
We were all, I assume, the friend.
Yes, always. I had an apartment in the friend zone.
Yeah.
And like, did you
permanent
guys?
Residency.
Yeah. But as you guys, as like famous people, did you feel like romantic attention from women? Like in a way,
not really.
No,
and also,
never.
we hung out with a lot of other very famous people who did get a lot of attention
there was
from women.
No spotlight on me for fame in my.
Like
friend
we were running
group.
around with like Gosling and shit back in the day, and you Leo and like everybody. It's like we're just sort of.
That's kind of the thing. Like
just happy to be there. You know what I mean? Like,
because I think those guys can walk into any room, and if they want to have sex with one of the women, it's probably going to happen.
It's true,
right? And not asking if you ever partook of that. Did you never felt that was the case?
Never.
I maybe had a moment when I was like 19, which is when I was working with Ryan on this like bad teen soap, like it was called Breaker High. We went to school on a cruise ship all over the world. And we were on with like, Sweet Valley High. We were like the sister show, and it got like boy band famous in Canada. let me just make that disclaimer. In Canada and other parts of the world, it was like huge. And I took advantage of that a little bit. So I was 19 and my ego was sort of like blown out of proportion. But again, it was all like, I don't know how to put this. It was all sort of like a direct byproduct of the people I was with and the image of what was happening. It never felt like it was because of me, which was that's the hurtful part, right? It's like I felt like I had to blow all these other parts of myself out of proportion. Like I had to be very funny. I always had to be on. I always had to be very like the funny guy. I was convinced that like I'm not the kind of guy that walks into a room and women go, oh my God, that guy. I have to go and earn everybody's adoration. And I need to be liked. So going into a room and seeing like a challenge, or even with women, like if I like a woman or I'm attracted to a woman, didn't deter me, but I knew that my tool was not my looks, or I was going to have a bigger challenge, which I love, which we've established. So I started like really using all these other tools like alcohol and like humor and misdirection. And I was never just vulnerable me being like, hey, I like you. Do you like me? Because that felt impossible.
Yeah, for me, I had zero success because I hated myself so much.
Yeah,
so there was no confidence that anything. And then when I found drugs, there was a magical separation from what I felt about myself, and suddenly I could be extroverted and go out at night and not just be constantly thinking about like I don't belong here.
The barrage. Yeah.
And then there were possibilities. But I was on so much drugs, I was incapable of doing anything.
Same with alcohol. Like you get to the place you're trying to get to, and I'm like, sorry,
this is not going to happen. But
I appreciate the effort, but just go home.
Yeah.
Thank you for the ego boost. But yeah, I the heroin of it all, because I got into drugs. I mean, they always go together. But usually the drugs were to like just enable me to drink more. Drinking was my drug of choice. So like cocaine, speed, whatever could keep me up to drink more. But like that was the way I separated. I was able to go into this like I'm the coolest guy in the room, and like cocaine is horrible, but man, does it make you feel cool for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Heroin, are you cool to talk about? Like,
sure.
How did you get to that extreme level of
alcohol? Was certainly first. and the thing I was chasing would always result in a blackout.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And so then you're waking up going like, well, I'm injured. I don't know. Should I be embarrassed about how I got injured? Mm-hmm. Did I hurt anyone? Did I crash a car? Like, I don't know because I blacked out.
Yeah.
And then it's like slowly making a call to a good friend, like, hey, what happened last night? Is everything okay? Is anybody dead?
Yeah.
And then I found opiates, and I could achieve the same thing without blacking out.
Right.
So I would it started with pills.
Yeah.
And then, uppers were involved when the opiates were so heavy that I would be just unconscious.
Right,
and so you got to get into cocaine too, just so you can go out and experience this weird feeling of like not being self-conscious because you're high and you've detached from all of that baggage.
So heroin's good. Heroin sounds good. Like it sounds...
Heroin, if there was no downside.
I've always said, like, I smoked heroin and I like snorted some heroin at one point. Not the same. It's not the same effect, but man, there's something there, man, for sure.
They were onto something. They figured something out with that.
I've heard of heroin.
Reed doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, no, I'm a super square.
Yeah.
But all of it, man, all the addiction and the self-imposed torture. And it folded so neatly into Hollywood for me. Like I also felt like I could kind of disappear in Hollywood, like I didn't want to play the game. No one was taking photos of me on the red carpet because I would go intentionally looking like a fucking slob because that was my image. And if they did say anything, it was like a passing, like, oh, the typically unkempt Labine on the, I was like, right on, that's me.
That's me.
Because it was like, again, controlling the narrative. But like, man, I loved that I could just kind of disappear in Hollywood, especially with guys like Gosling.
Yeah.
So I did want to ask, I think one of the questions that we sort of posit on this show is like, we do talk about toxic masculinity. My friend Steve Mallory brought this up, and I don't know why it's so puzzling. He was like, well, what's the opposite of toxic masculinity? And I was like, well, positive masculinity. No.
Positive masculinity.
But I don't know how to answer that question because it feels like all we were marketed now, as we are finding out, was pretty off the mark, pretty damaging shit for the most part.
Yeah, but I think it's also how we interpret something. We all have our long life experience, and every single thing that we perceive is going to be perceived through our long life experience. So like, there's going to be a guy in Idaho who needs rah masculine. If Russia invades, he's going to the woods with a shotgun and he's going to take them on,
killing shit.
That works for that guy. I don't know what positive masculinity is. Like,
we just don't really know what masculinity means. I mean, to define it is
like, for me, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a friend, I'm a coworker. All of these things are masculine for me because I'm a man.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's
a good answer.
I mean, it's just our gender. I mean, I don't know. I come back to empathy. I come back to being like, maybe that is what positive masculinity is.
Right. Just being an empathetic
having
human.
Empathy for everybody.
Yeah.
And, if we understand and can put ourselves in other people's shoes, then that's how I think we can be a force for positive change. And to, of when we do want to influence, to be like, hey, I understand, I see where you are and I want to help, or I want to, what support do you need?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like on that level too, the accountability is the thing for me, like accountability at all costs, because I feel like that's the piece that's often missing, is this accountability and this like culpability that is like, I can't admit to that. That's not, it's like with racism, like it's a system, not an event. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just a thing that happened. We kind of were raised in this system, and I need to acknowledge that and be like, yeah, I have been a part of that system. I want to be culpable and say, these are the things that I recognize don't work. And here's the things that do work, which is what I also want to identify as like, what does work about being a man? Like, there are things that we do like. We don't hate everything about people, men being men. Yeah. But there is this.
I think women have it tough. I do not want to trade places with
them.
No,
not at all. No. But I just think that like the accountability of what sort of has been our, I don't want to say fault, but the things that we sort of have embraced that don't work for everybody. It's like time to just be accountable and lose those things if we can,
Yeah.
So we talked about him and I are both on tirzepatide, right?
Yes.
And I started taking it, not really knowing what I was taking. My doctor was like, hey, you want to get your mood stabilized, and I want to help with your GLP-1, I want to help with your blood sugar. And I was like, oh, great. And I've been on testosterone for years, and just as like a basically to help with like sleep and with my, I had like rock bottom testosterone. But as I figured out that I was on this weight loss aid, I adjusted, right? Because I did a lot of research about like it just eats like muscle, and it doesn't
really eat muscle though.
Well, if you're not working out, if you're not doing strength training on tirzepatide, this is what I want to ask you.
Any calorie deficit?
Yeah,
your body is going to initially use fat as a source of energy, but then it's also going to go for lean tissue. This is just going to happen. So you could be doing keto with no tirzepatide, and if you're in a big enough deficit, you're going to lose lean tissue too. So the fact that the press is hammering lean tissue wasting with these GLP-1s, I think is slightly irresponsible because if you're in a deficit, you risk wasting lean tissue. Period.
Right.
So if the tirzepatide is helping you there's nothing about that peptide that is going to go in and attack lean tissue.
It's not inherently negative.
It's
not like,
just that you're putting less fuel in the tank, and so your body is going to compensate with fuel that's in there already, fat and muscle.
But that's weird because I am fueling and I'm working out heavy all the time, losing weight, putting on muscle. But it's like everything that they say, like you don't want to just like take tirzepatide and just sit back and wait for the weight to fall off.
Again, I don't want to moralize. I don't want to say you want to.
Oh, me neither. There's no judges here about the.
I don't think there's a good or bad. I think that we have to be. I think for me, what has had to occur is I have had to get very specific about what I want for myself, and so if you want to mitigate lean tissue loss, muscle loss, while on any diet, and if tirzepatide is a tool you're using, by the way. You get your stomach stapled, you're going to waste lean tissue.
Right.
You go on OptiFast, you're going to waste lean tissue. You go on keto and you're in a deficit, which I could very easily eat keto and not hit a deficit and not lose any weight.
Yeah.
If tirzepatide is the tool that you're using to get into a deficit and you want to mitigate lean tissue loss, protein, hypervigilance with protein, and resistance training are what you can do to mitigate lean tissue loss. This is true with any diet. So the demonization of GLP-1 agonists because of lean tissue loss, it's not fair. There is no excess lean tissue wasting because of them than any other deficit.
Good. Thank you for saying that, because there is this like even with Reed, I didn't want to like cop to being on one. I didn't even really know what I was taking. It's a lower dose and I didn't really. But it is what it is, and it has helped me a great deal get to where I want to go. But there's all this there is a demonization of it, and
Listen, the other thing to recognize that I think is being talked about less is if you treat that as a short-term diet, as an acute solution to a chronic condition,
it's not going to work.
You are likely to gain the weight back if you just jump off of it. And so I know a lot of women through my wife who have been doing crash diets basically our entire adult lives. And for many years, I tried crash dieting too and always gained the weight back. And so when I found a system that was maintainable for me, I would urge these girls to please consider that you're doing this crash diet for the 6th or 7th time, and it's getting harder and harder every time. And to recognize that maybe that's the pattern that you have to break, but you go back to it because you lost 30 pounds. But you're back here doing it again for the 7th time. If you treat tirzepatide like that, that could be a problem because it then is very easy. You jump on this thing for 3 months, you lose the 5 or 10 pounds you want to lose. You're also losing lean tissue. What you'll most likely gain back is going to be fat and not lean tissue. And so what the potential is that you see over a long period of time, the weight is static, even though it's going like this, but the graph would show like a trending, even trend. But the body fat percentage is increasing because every time you lose weight, you're losing lean tissue. And then you're just gaining back fat. So over time, the weight stays static, maybe ticks up a little bit, but the body fat is increasing. Not dramatically, but it is increasing. And so you're going like, I was, a girl who was 160 pounds, and for the last 5 years, I've jumped on and off these peptides, but my average has been 160 pounds, and yet I've gone from
your BMI
30 to 35% body fat percentage. What the fuck is happening? Well, you're not protecting lean tissue when you're on them, and that could be a problem. These are magical tools. These are miracle things. But there's also, I think everything has a consequence. And again, I'm not moralizing it. If you just want to lose weight and you don't want any of the headache, fine. Weight loss will increase health factors, and that's great. And so, like, I'm super positive about these things.
Yeah, and I'm not worried about it because I'm sure once I hit my goal weight, I'll have completely changed my lifestyle and have no problem.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and my whole personality.
This is the dream.
Yeah. No, that's
saying,
for sure going to happen. Yeah. So Ethan, again, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
very much for being
we
here.
do have a gift for you. We have a gift for you, buddy.
I'm very excited.
So we have a sponsorship deal with Night Blooms.
Does it smell like your vagina?
It does. Yes. How'd you know?
It's our signature scent.
It's our signature scent. It's our I Love You So Much candle collaboration.
This is awesome.
Santal and Yuzu Blossom.
Yeah, I love it.
So we love it. And thank you so much. Thank you, of course, Tiny Legends, everyone here. They are the best.
Yeah, we love them so much.
And Tyler, thank you as always. Love you too. And we also, of course, thank our audience. We've been overwhelmed by the support for the show. It's been magical. We love you all. We really appreciate your support, and we love you so much.